Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sew Crafty Liz. Today's tutorial is part of the Marathon Society for the Lauren bag from More Me Know. So cute. I did mine with a rose rhinestone in rose gold to match all of my rose gold hardware. I added the cute little kitty zipper pull with the rose, and on the inside I used the super adorable kitty with flowers print. I did add a zipper overlay and got my custom tag on the inside, as well as a slip pocket. And I riveted all of my handle connectors on, again, using the rose gold hardware. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll like and subscribe, as well as be sure to check out all the other awesome Sew Us Today featured in today's marathon. For my Lauren bag, I have my tag and a woven tag, as well as 5 purse feet. I have 2 zipper pulls. These are the kitties with roses from More Me Know. And then I have a handmade bag tag, as well as 4 rectangle rings, and these are 3/4 inch. I'm going to be doing 3/4 inch straps. And I have my zipper tape, and I'm using rose gold hardware. For my exterior, I'm going to be using this Champagne Luxe vinyl from More Me Know, and I have already adhered my rose rhinestones on the exterior. So I have my 2 exterior panels, and then I have my 2 linings, and this is just a cotton woven that I had in my stash. So for one lining, it looks just like our exterior, but the second lining has the base already cut, and it's not sewn. You cut it that way. If that makes any sense whatsoever. If not, ignore me. I have 2 pieces for my connectors and my handles. Then I also have my base, and I have adhered my Decaville to the bottom, and I went ahead and drew the markings for my purse feet. On my exterior, I'm going to be doing a zipper overlay in the same color vinyl. So I have 2 pocket linings for that, and then on the interior, I'm going to do a slip pocket, and I have 2 cuts for that. On all of my woven, I used SF101 to interface. And with that, we can get started. So I'm going to start with my handles, and hopefully with my new overhead view, I can remember to keep it in frame. So I drew a line down the center of my handle when I cut it out, and then I added some 3/4 inch double-sided tape, and I'm folding over my vinyl, but not all the way to the line. We want that little bit of a gap so that when we fold it in half, the vinyl has room. So we're going to fold this other side over. And I love using this Luxe vinyl from More Me Know. And it does look a bit wavy where I'm finagling this, but once you get it in place, you can run your hand down and smooth it, and it'll look fine. So now we can fold it in half and add our clips. I was trying to decide what color thread I wanted to use for this, and I ended up going with blush pink, so we'll see how it turns out. I have both of my straps folded and clipped together, so now I can set one out of the way and make sure I got my stitch length set correctly. And then I'm just going to top stitch down each long edge. I went ahead and top stitched about an inch away from all four edges to have my Decaville on more securely. And I am punching holes in the marks that I made, so I can add my purse feet, and we'll see if I can use this hole punch to get that middle one. And I don't think I'm going to be able to, so I'm going to have to take it over to my table press, and then I can attach these, and I have to remind myself not to be out of frame. I've attached my purse feet, and then on the inside I went ahead and covered those washers with some duct tape, so we can set that to the side. I've already prepped 3 of my connectors, and in the intro I showed you that I had 2 longer pieces, so I just cut those in half to make 4 pieces. I drew a line down the middle, and then I'm going to fold this over to meet that line on both sides. You want these to touch, and then we can wrap it around our rectangle ring. And I use, obviously, double-sided tape to help me. And I'm going to add my rectangle ring on here, and then I have just a small piece of tape I'm going to put right here in the middle. And then now I can fold this top edge over. You want it a little more than halfway. Then we're going to fold the bottom edge up to meet, so that this seam is not directly in the center. And then I have another small piece of tape that I'm going to put right here, and this is just going to help hold it onto our exterior panel to attach it. So on one of my exteriors, I have, you probably can't see it, marked small dots for where these go. There are measurements in the pattern of how far down and how far in to measure from the top and the side, and I'm just going to place that connector at that dot, and then repeat that for this other side. I also did go ahead and attach my bag tag, or metal tag rather, and it is centered and 2.5 inches down. And then it looks a little crooked, but it's probably fine. I did abandon my idea of the exterior overlay after seeing how far down these connectors come. This would have needed to be right here, and I just didn't feel like there was enough space. So I'm still going to use it. I'm just going to put it on the inside.
Welcome to my wonderful voiceover because I forgot to turn on the microphone. I've added my rivets to my handle connectors, and you can see they look gorgeous. I've grabbed all of my lining pieces, and I'm going to take the 2 pieces I'm going to use for the slip pocket that I'm going to be adding to this bag. I'm going to put them right sides together, lining up the edges, and then I'm going to start at the bottom about an inch or so in and sew all the way around to the other side of the bottom, again finishing about an inch or so from the edge, leaving a hole for turning. Before turning, I'm going to clip the points off all 4 corners and trim the seam allowances. This is going to give us a lot nicer point for our corner. And then I like to use a chopstick to just reach inside and help poke everything out and have it looking good before I go to attach it to my lining panel. Once I have it the way I want, I can fold over the raw edges to the inside, add a couple clips, and then it will be ready to top stitch that top edge of our pocket. I imagine somewhere right here, I'm telling you that I'm going to clip the centers of the top and the bottom of my lining panel before I measure down for my placement. As you can see, I'm just positioning it where I want it, and then I realized that I never top stitched it. So I'm going to do that now. Just kidding, I'm going to play with it a little more, then I'm going to top stitch it, and then we can go back and put it on our panel. And I was just kind of feeling it, so I just laid it up there and added it, and it worked out perfectly. Sometimes it just happens that way. I did backstitch very well at the beginning, and then I'm just making sure that my fold stays nice, turning with my needle down and backstitching again at the end. I have measured down from the top of my panel and added my overlay centered, and then I am going to stitch around the outside edge, and I don't like to start at the very corner. I usually start somewhere in the middle and hold my tails, keep them long, and I'm just going to stitch the perimeter. And then with my needle down, when I get to the corner, I can rotate, but I'm making sure that I'm coming back up to complete that stitch before I turn, so that that corner looks really nice. And I probably should have tested this on a scrap. I did change my needle. It was not looking the best. It's looking okay. I may need to adjust my tension a little bit. And then before I get back to where I started, I'll pull this tail on the back and pull that top thread through, and then I can finish my stitching. And I went for a little bit of extra on this overlay. I beveled the corners. I was originally planning to add this to the exterior of the bag, but after I added my handle connectors, I decided that it just wasn't going to be the look that I wanted. So I abandoned it, but rather than omit having it all together, I decided to put it on the inside of the bag. And then before I get back to my starting point, I'll just make sure I finish in that same hole. Marlena has been on one today and she keeps getting in my lap, but I cannot sew with her in my lap. So just tie those threads off on the back. Then I'll take and cut a split or hole in the middle and then flip it back over to the back where I can continue cutting this out, and then make sure you don't cut your overlay. It doesn't have to be pretty. You're not going to see it. You just need that material cut away from the opening of the overlay. And then, like I said, just being extra careful to make sure that you don't cut your overlay. There's really not much else you can do but start over if you do that. So this is what the front will look like. All right. And then I'm going to need my zipper and my pull. And I had a tag that I was going to put there. We'll add it in the side seam. And then I also need my pocket pieces. Now, these pieces are a little bit bigger than the measurements given in the pattern. And you can see I have already added my logo tag. I find it really fun to put that tag inside the pocket. So whenever I am doing these I'm trying to think, because I want this to be on the back side of the pocket, and I think, yes, that's right. Okay, ignore me. So I'm just adding my zipper tape to the top right side with my zipper face up. And then I'm going to stitch this on. And I like to use a 1/4 seam allowance for this. And then I should have singed the edge of my zipper tape. Okay, here we go. Then I will flip my lining and lay my zipper flat along the top of that lining, and then I'm just going to baste it down. And this is just going to help keep it nice and even and flat for us when we put the zipper inside the overlay. And I'm just taking my finger and evening out that seam where we folded. Probably should have wound another bobbin before I started filming, but it'll be okay. Then we're just going to take the other side of our lining, and I think I started to say it and never did, but this pocket is a little bit larger than what was in the pattern because I was adding it to the outside, but the bag is still big enough for this pocket, so it will be fine. But if yours doesn't look exactly the same, that's why. And I did leave my zipper longer on this end because that's where I'm going to add my pull. But I like to do this part before adding the pull because it helps make sure that I get my zipper as straight as possible. And then now I can take my 1/8 inch tape and run it along that top edge. And the bottom edge. It's easier to add the tape, I find, before you add your pull than trying to fight with it after. And then now I can go ahead and add my pull. And then after we sew our pocket on and close it up, we can trim this little tail of tape off. Okay. I'm going to peel off the paper from my tape. And I don't have a lot of luck only peeling one side at a time and folding it out of the way. So I just go ahead and peel both the top and the bottom. And I lay it on my table as straight as I can get it, and then I just center this in the window at the top, press down, and then adjust if I need to, and then you can turn it this way. It actually looks really, really good. Surprisingly, for a first try. So for this, I'm going to start over here, and that'll allow me to go all the way back to here before I have to move my zipper, and then I can close it this way and finish stitching, and I won't have the pull in my way. So that is what we are going to do. And I'm leaving my thread tails long again, so that I can pull them to the back. And then before I rotate, I am making sure my needle is down. And then needle down before I lift my foot. I can move my zipper pull out of the way and then keep going. And then before I go any further, I can reach under and again pull my thread from the back and pull that top thread through. And then rotate. And then making sure that I end in the same hole that I started in. And then pull my tails long again. And now I can flip it over and pull that thread to the back as well. And then I'll tie these off. And I'll use my lighter to singe the ends of the thread and just kind of stick it to the back of that zipper tape so that I don't worry about anything coming undone or having loose threads. Here we go. And now when we pull this down, this pocket is going to be a little bit longer, and that's fine. We can trim it off. I'm actually trimming a little bit of both. Number one, my first pocket wasn't completely even, but it was a little bit longer than it needed to be altogether. And then I like to fold this down by about 1/4 inch or so. And I am going to be leaving it open. Turn my bag. Actually, I'll probably leave one side of the lining open over here and then finish it through the pocket. And then now we can flip this over and we can pull this back out of our way. And you can see this is really way too long for this, but it's fine. And I like to back stitch over my zipper a couple of times. And then finish that. And then I usually clip at an angle right there on that corner. I'm just going to clip off that extra zipper tape and then take my lighter and singe that edge where I clip that off. And then apparently I missed a thread. There we go. And come over here to the other side and do the same thing. And I'm just making sure that stays turned up and even. Let's see, I'll go ahead and clip this one down too, since I use such a big seam allowance. And then clip that in at an angle. And then go ahead and melt that zipper tape. All right. Before I go any further, I like to just pop those out. This is going to make a really nice edge for when we go to close our pocket. Okay. And our zipper pocket is now complete. So we can lay that to the side. Now I have my zipper for the top, and I have added zipper tabs to each end. And then I'm just going to, that one's seemed to be stuck there. It seems like every time I come out here to record, my poor nose starts to run, and then I don't know if anybody else notices it, but I feel like I'm always sniffling. I notice it, but everyone else may not, but you probably will now. So and if I'm not sniffling, I'm sneezing. So just top stitch those zipper tabs on. I did back stitch at the start and the stop. Eventually, I'll get my life together and know what I'm doing. The cat wanted out. All right. So I just folded my zipper in half. And I'm just going to take my pin and mark the center on the back. There is a measurement in the pattern for how long the zipper should be when you are finished. So now I have the centers marked on that. And then I have my front panel, and I realized in my first clip you couldn't see the whole thing. So here it is, and it's all beautiful glory. But we are going to flip our zipper right side down, match the center, and my pull is closing to the left. And I'm going to clip my center. And I'm going to fold these rectangle rings down out of my way. Now at this point you can baste it together, but I'm just going to go ahead and add my lining and do it all in one. So I have my center, and that wasn't, there we go. And then as I go down, I'll just transfer my clips. And when I go to attach, or when I'm sewing, I'll move my zipper pull out of the way when I get to it. And we are ready to sew this on. Back stitch at the start and the stop. And then with my needle down, I can reach under and I can close that zipper some more to get it past. And then back stitch at the end. Now we're going to flip our lining out of the way and flip our seam allowance down behind our main panel. So sorry for bumping the camera. Let's see if I can do it this way. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and put this under here out of the way. There. But you want that seam allowance down behind your main panel. And then we're only going to top stitch from the zipper tab to zipper tab. And if you care, I should have said this before, but if you care which pocket, if you're adding both a slip pocket and a zipper pocket, goes against the inside of your main panel on the front, then pay close attention to that at this step, or well, before this step. All right. I'm just making sure that that is staying down behind. Go ahead. My needle is down, so I can go ahead and slide that zipper out of the way. So again, only stitching from zipper tab to zipper tab. And I did back stitch at the beginning and the end. And then just trim off those threads. Okay. I moved my trash can and it's really bothering me. Okay. Then I like to use my lighter to just kind of melt those ends of those threads. All right. And then now we can add the other side of our lining and exterior. So this is what my other panel looks like. Very simple. It's so pretty. So I'm going to lay it right side up, flip this over. I'm going to tuck those rectangle rings and then line up the center. And same steps as before. We're going to attach and flip our seam allowance to the exterior and top stitch from zipper tab to zipper tab. We can attach our bottom panel. So I've got my front exterior and I am going to match up the center. I've already added my purse feet. They are optional, so if you don't want them, you don't have to add them. Okay. All right. Gotta move some stuff out of the way over here because I'm gonna end up knocking it off in the floor. All right. Let's fold this over. Hold it down with my arm. So we're going to attach our bottom panel. Seam allowance is given in the pattern, but you should be sewing right up next to your stabilizer. It's going to give it a very nice look when it's all done. If you sew through it though, it's not going to work out as well. Ask me how I know. Okay, back stitch at the beginning and the end. And we're going to flip this down and we are going to top stitch onto our bottom panel. I guess I'll have 2 rows of stitch in there. And your seam allowance should be going down towards that bottom panel. And we'll just call it a decorative touch. It doesn't look bad. All right. Now, we are going to repeat those same steps to attach the other side. So, match up the center. You can unzip that main lining, and I learned this trick. I had never done this before like this. But slide your bag all the way through and put your foot inside the zipper opening. And you have to be careful at the zipper, the very back, but it allows you to see inside the bag. Just go slow. Keep that zipper out of your way. Me and my threads are fighting. And make sure that, and I completely did mine wrong because I am top stitching on the exterior panel, but I'm not stopping with it now. And we already said it's a design feature. Now, just be careful when you are taking your bag out so you don't scrape your material on your needle. And glad I was keeping this bag for me. All right. I've got one is top stitched on the bottom and one is top stitched on the side. It's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine. Leave our zipper unzipped, and we are going to place our main lining panels right sides together. I'm just going to clip everything in between. Pay special attention to line up your top edge right here, and then okay. I'm just gonna, this is a really big bag. I like it though. I hate that I messed that up. It's fine. Okay. Come around to the other side, match up the top right here. And then I'm going to match up my bottom. You kind of have to pinch that base so that it will allow those sides to meet up the way they're supposed to. Just clip it all the way down. Marlena's now jumping on the door. Lovely. Okay. I'm just turning it around so I can have room to work. But we're going to clip our other lining sides together. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to flip mine over and start from the lining side. That's the way my clips are going. And I'm going to increase my seam allowance on my lining. Back stitch at the beginning. And then before I get to the top, I'm just going to let that seam allowance grade back in to the smaller seam allowance. That zipper tab is trying to pull those layers apart, so I'm just being extra careful. And then back stitch at the end. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that same thing for the other side, except for this time I'll start with my exterior side. So we're going to start at our regular seam allowance, back stitch, and then when I get to my lining, after I've sewn down about 1 inch, I'll go out to the bigger seam allowance. I'm just pushing that down really hard with my finger on that zipper tab. Make sure that I keep those layers together. And would you know it, I ran out of bobbin at the very end. Almost one bobbin chicken. I went ahead and finished stitching that piece down there. We're going to box the corner of our exterior and trying to get this in frame. I'm going to fold that seam flat on my exterior right there, and then match the center with our seam, and I'm going to clip that, and then we're going to stitch this side and try to keep that all lined up. I'm having a little bit of room with my camera and the size of this bag. I'm trying not to hit the camera. There we go. Back stitch at the beginning and the end. Macaroni is having a fit over my trash can, and I don't know why. The joys of trying to film with fur children. We will stitch this side together. All right. One of the girls must have put something in the trash can that he felt he needed. All right. And I'm going to trim this little corner right here off so it's not in the way. And same thing on this side over here, because that shouldn't have been there. And I'm going to trim my seam allowance down on my lining only. And this side over here, I'm not even sure if you can see it, but I'm trimming it. Okay. And then now we can reach in. We left that big opening in our bottom. I have my bag all turned out. It looks so good. I got those corners poked out really well. So we're going to reach in the zipper pocket, and we're going to pull our lining through that pocket, and then we will line up our base, and I'm going to clip it together. Good. So. Man, these clips are having a time. Okay, now we want to box our corner. On both sides. So just stick your finger in the opening and just kind of pull it apart, and it should line up nice and even. And since I'm using quilting cotton, I just laid my seam over. And I had already trimmed my seam allowance down as well, so there wasn't really a lot there to open. But if you hadn't, you could open it and butterfly it. And then, because this is the lining, I am going to trim it down. And then we're going to repeat that for the other side. Now we can tuck it back inside. And then pull our pocket. And then add a couple clips to this edge. And then we're going to just about an 1/8 inch away, close the exterior or the bottom edge of our pocket. And then now we can tuck that down inside as well. Smooth our lining down, and that part of our bag is done. So the only thing we have left now is adding our handles. And that one had a little bit of a thread situation. Then before you attach the other one, you want to make sure that it's not twisted. But that is what it will look like. So I will go ahead and put holes in this and set my rivets, and we will be completely finished with our Lauren bag. And I'll come back to show you what it looks like. My Lauren bag is so pretty. You can barely even tell that I messed up my top stitching right there. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Be sure and check out all the other fantastic channels. I'll leave a link in the description. Hope everyone has a great day. Bye.